update on a project that you guys have seen one video on before. This project started out as a crispy project that was originally designed around an SCX-10 drivetrain. But this build transformed into something that's using a set of the Italian Pure Spider axles. Now, if you've never seen these before, they're an Italian-made axle that has a high clearance design through the center. A little bit different than you're probably used to seeing, but some really high quality, nicely made axles. And these are what Brett from Canada wanted to put into this particular project. So what we have here on top of this project, though, is the Yeti Cage. Now, the Yeti Cage, as we know in the 1/10 scale, has a hinged design. Now, on this car, I kind of incorporated that similar of a system. However, it doesn't quite give you all of that angle that you're used to seeing in the 1/10 scale version. That's kind of because of the design of the rear tube cage that is on this build. But most of all, I just wanted to incorporate it for mounting on the rear, being able to use those stock Yeti style mounts. Now, if I remove the Lexan body, that's just kind of hiding it a little bit. Up front, there used to be much more of the frame. Well, a couple of inches more anyway. And what that was the front part of the C-notch that dropped down and then went forward to a front bumper mount. Now, this car, after getting it kind of bolted together, kind of mocked up and things like that, what we found is that the front bumper style that was going to work with an SCX-10 definitely doesn't work with this Yeti Cage. The Yeti's got a very high clearance front, and as we know on the 1/10 scale, it's got an IFS front suspension, so it has kind of a vertical skid plate type thing out front. We'll see how that works with a solid axle. Probably going to have to change that up and figure out some sort of pre-runner-esque style of a front bumper. But that's going to kind of have to come as we go. Now, another reason that we did that front end is because these Pure Spider axles are built to use a high-tech 7980 servo, which is larger than a standard size servo by about 10%. Now, the issue that caused is while this thing is going through the suspension travel, that servo swings a larger arc because it is larger and because it's above the roll center of the axle. So it makes it swing an even larger arc. That high clearance really exaggerates that fact. So this chassis was just not going to work as it was. Now, the rear section of this crispy frame used to extend about 1.5 inches further than what we see here. But what that did is it left a big gap behind the back side of the Yeti Cage and body to where that bumper was. So I ended up having to cut that off to make it look better. After that, I welded up just a very simple style desert little bumper section, and that kind of fits with that cage a little bit better. This bar that we see up here above that rear section, that is what is used to mount that Yeti Cage. I put this piece in the lathe and turned down 2 grooves. That allows those body mounts to kind of fit in there just a little bit better, as this is 3/16 rod, and that was a little bit larger than the mounting surface that Yeti Cage normally uses. So that's kind of where we're at with this project. I do have to get the Kyosho red velvet shocks installed on here. However, I do have some special edition Kyosho shock parts to install on this that were done the same time those Harley edition trans cases were done. So I'm going to get those things on here to make this thing completely done in all of the orange stuff that was available for Super Shafty for that very limited time. Other than that, the front end is still kind of fighting me a little bit. I've got some custom links I've got to make sure everything clears as it's going through the cycle. I think this car should perform pretty well with the massive amount of up travel that it's designed to have, as well as those high clearance axles. It should be a pretty interesting combination when you're really throwing it around in the rocks, especially with that Rock 412 sitting in there. But again, that's a project that's been sitting around here in the shop a little while and need to get it finished up. But thought I'd give you guys an update, and that's where we're at with this one. So we'll see you guys on the next one.